Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name's Jim. Thank you for riding along today. It is now past the middle of August 2026. Time marches on, doesn't it? It's an amazing phenomenon to me. It seems like only yesterday I was listening to the Eagles about taking it easy. And here I am in my golden years doing that very thing. Well, maybe I'm not taking it that easy. We have a podcast, an online store called Boomer's General Store. You can find on our website, Baby Boomer Tales. We wrote a book once. It wasn't very thick. It wasn't the great American novel, but it did a fine job of explaining some of the trials I had in my working life towards the end of me working for, quote unquote, the man. Gotta work for the man. You know what I mean? Anyway, here I am sitting in my office, northeastern Kansas, looking out at my pond. There's a great blue heron just standing there. If you don't know what those are, look them up on Google. They're a beautiful bird. When they fly, they look like an animal from prehistoric times. But he just stands there with his feet maybe in the water, waiting for a fish to swim by or a frog to show his little horny self. And then he strikes like lightning and has a tasty little snack. I've seen him handle pretty big fish before. They are a wonderful stork-type bird, and we have a lot of them around here, but there's usually only one at a time around my pond. The reason I know there are more than one, though, because once in a while there are two. Half the time you wouldn't even know it unless you go outside and it startles them and they fly off. Sky's blue today. The weather's cooler, which is pretty nice. You don't always get that in August. It got down in the very low 60s last night. I love this country here. It is nothing similar to where I grew up in the north central Colorado Rocky Mountains. Up there by Rocky Mountain National Park. Totally different landscape, totally different feel in the air. The sky is even different, but different is not always bad. I do love it here. It is home. I've spent over half my life here now. I'm 76 and we celebrated our 38th year here in Kansas last January. So I've lived here longer than I've lived anywhere. And here, out on my property with my pond and my great blue heron and all that stuff, I've lived here 26 years. Time flies by. It just slips on by you like the blink of an eye. I've been ending a lot of episodes lately with that little saying, just to emphasize how fast time really goes. Turn, turn, turn. You're a little kid wanting to play baseball, to you're a kid in high school trying to get a date and make the football team, to you're a young adult and every girl you're going out with is a potential mate for life, to you're in middle age and your kids are growing faster than what you was even thinking was possible, to you're in your golden years and you're sitting here reminiscing. It's a good life, it is. I do believe it is a good life. Of course, life is what you make it. We all have our challenges. We all have something that's trying to get us. Like I said, those giants in life, be like David and collect some rocks. Knock old Goliath down. You'll be glad you went forward instead of cowering behind some tree somewhere. Today's episode I call The Gift. There's one main reason that I thought of when I named this episode The Gift, but I'm going to work my way there. Remember when you're a little kid? Maybe your first birthday party when you're in elementary school and you invited your friends over. And they give you little gifts and you threw a big party, you and your mom. And then one Christmas morning you wake up and you got that bike you've been asking for. What a gift from Mom and Dad. Maybe you take your teacher in 4th grade a banana bread that your mom made, and you give her that gift and you tell her, my mom wanted me to give this to you, and she'll look you right in the eye and say, thank you so much for this wonderful gift. Gifts are all around, and they take many shapes and sizes. They are made with nature, or something that you pieced together, or something you wrote, or something you drew, or possibly just a kind word or an act of kindness. You do not have to be rich with money to give the perfect gift. A lot of times a smile, and that person feels like they've won the lottery because you're the only person that smiled at them all day, possibly, or said hello, or any of that stuff. You know? Sure, women love flowers for a birthday or a anniversary or a get well or any of that stuff. We all like to receive gifts. I know I do. Sometimes I feel a little guilty, though, if somebody gives me a gift, and I should not feel that way. As I get older and people ask me what I want for Christmas or my birthday or something, I always say I don't want anything. It's fine. And I realized several years ago that I am doing a great disservice to who's ever asking. If it's my daughter asking me, because she just has no idea what to give me. So I've tried to sandbag things that I possibly would like to have that I just never ever got around to spending money on myself for. As I get older, that's a harder task. There are things like there's a book about the country I grew up in Colorado, and I've always thought I'd like to have that book. Even though I have not physically read a book in years, I listen to them on audio, downloadable audio anymore instead of cassette tape or CD, any of that. I just listen to them on my phone now. But I do like to read. It's just that when you find the perfect reader with your perfect author, you can just kick back and relax. I like listening to audiobooks, I do. But I'd like to have that one book, I would. My shredder went out last year. It was my own fault. I let it get way too full and jammed up, and I used to be able to get them unjammed, and I just couldn't this one. It was so old, and so I told one of my daughters I'd like to have a shredder, and they bought me a much nicer shredder than I'd ever buy. That's wonderful. That's great. You don't have to spend X amount of dollars on me, though, darling. It's the thought that counts. Do we all remember that? It's the thought that counts. So I have been given many gifts in my life. My children were a wonderful gift. My grandchildren possibly could be even more wonderful gift. Now, how could I say that? Do you love your grandchildren more than your children? I did not say that. I possibly love them differently. My children were under my charge to raise correctly and keep safe and make sure that they entered adulthood prepared for this life. It's a big responsibility to have children. Grandchildren, not so much, unless for some reason you are raising them. I always admire an older grandma or grandpa or grandma and grandpa that are raising their grandchildren. What a hard thing that must be. What a blessing it must be. What a challenge that must be. So grandchildren are different than children usually. I like to just kind of play with the grandchildren, joke with the grandchildren. You know, I don't get to see my grandchildren too often, but I thoroughly enjoy them. I was given this gift of life, and I have given a more precious gift of wonderful health through my life. I would say most of my life has been issue-free as far as my health. Of course, we all have challenges, and I have a challenge right now. But remember, I brought some rocks to the party, and that challenge, just like old Goliath, David smacked him right between the eyes and killed him with a rock. Bring your rocks with you. Anyway, I'm getting off track. God gave us the most precious gift of all, His only Son. What a wonderful life that is because of Him. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. But what I want to talk about is this one gift I got years ago. I didn't even realize I was getting a gift. For some reason, I thought at first that it was just a token thing that I could hang out with for a while and go about my merry little way. But then we became closer and we got married. And I started to realize then that I had been given a very special gift in life. Although I still didn't appreciate it, I did not. I was pretty much full of myself when I was 27 years old, but I was in kind of a state of flux, wanting to commit my life to something deeper, opposed to wanting to just do my thing, my way. Well, through the years, this gift and I have traveled about. We raised 2 children. We went through a devastating business thing that would break a lot of people. We relocated in a place that I never even thought about in my life. And we built a new life, starting over from scratch. I learned a lot about forgiving and being forgiven. I learned a lot about raising kids and being accountable for more than just myself. And through thick and through thin, this wonderful gift has been with me. The gift, of course, is my wife. She is a gift from God. I wouldn't have had it any other way. I am blessed beyond measure, and I understand that I should never take that gift for granted. And I smile, and I realize what a wonderful, wonderful life I've had. Always be kind. I'll be back next Wednesday. That is my plan. Peace out.